This video will not be monetized, and there'll be a charity attached to this video for cancer support. Charities like Macmillan act to provide vital cancer services, research, and campaign for better cancer care. We need to support charities like these so that hopefully within our lifetimes, we see better health care for people dealing with cancer to help save more lives. This video is going to touch on some heavy subjects, including my own personal experiences with cancer within my family. So, if you aren't up for that, feel free to click off of this video now. Technoblade was an incredibly talented Minecraft creator. I remember as a kid seeing him participate in Minecraft tournaments and destroying everybody else in the competition with ease. I used to be envious of that kind of impressive talent. Being that good at everything you do in a particular game is incredible to me. And throughout his content, he would always convey himself with such a fun and interesting personality and a dry sense of humor that I felt stuck with me and allowed me to keep returning to his content even years later after I'd outgrown watching Minecraft content. Which is why when I saw the news a few days ago that Technoblade had passed away from cancer, I was devastated. I remember that I was on a boat in New York. We were riding right under a bridge, and one of my friends, Wub, texted me with a link to Techno's video. Seeing the title, which read "So Long Nerds," I expected it was going to be some kind of joke. Obviously, his other videos hadn't been the most positive, like his "I Almost Became an Amputee" video, but they were more satirical. He was making jokes about the situation, and it didn't seem as serious as it clearly was. When I saw the title, I thought this video was probably going to be him taking a break from YouTube or quitting because of his cancer struggles, but what I didn't expect was to see his dad walk into the video. Now, I don't necessarily think it would have been an amazing joke to say that he died as some sort of like satirical video, but that was what I hoped at least over, obviously, what it was. It's difficult to say that entire moment going under that bridge in New York wasn't ruined the second I saw that text, because effectively a childhood hero, someone I've watched for years, was gone way quicker than I knew. I expected there would be some kind of warning, some kind of inclination that his state was declining, but all of his videos seemed upbeat and positive until it was like I snapped my fingers and he was gone. And I'm sure a lot of people have a moment like this with the Technoblade situation, seeing the news out of nowhere and just the shock. It's really difficult to truly comprehend death, and it's hard to describe what you feel in that moment when you see it, but everyone kind of understands that feeling. It fucking sucks. Alex, or Technoblade, was 23 when his life was taken away from him, despite being such a talented individual, such a joy on other people's life. It's not fair when something like this happens, and it reminds you that literally your entire life could be taken away that quickly. I mean, he was only around 5 years older than me. To think that someone, anyone, even I, could die 5 years from now out of nowhere, or get diagnosed with cancer, is terrifying. I mean, the entire thought of cancer is obviously terrifying in general. It's not really nice to think about the idea that you could be stuck with some terminal illness and have to rely on medical care and just hope that you don't get completely fucked over by the system or get stuck with some kind of cancer that can't really be dealt with. And especially in America, where healthcare isn't as easily accessible as it is where I live, it's terrifying. For those who weren't aware, 10 months ago, Technoblade made a video talking about how he'd been diagnosed with cancer. He made this video a more light-hearted video, he constantly made jokes within it, and most people didn't really realize, including me, how severe this situation was. Within this video, he discussed that he would have to have surgery and go through chemotherapy, and in a later video, 4 months later, he talked about how he almost had to lose his arm, and throughout this entire video, he was still making jokes, talking about how the first thing he did as soon as he was told he might lose his arm was start writing in a Google Doc all the jokes he could tell about him being an amputee. And that in a fucked up way, he was going to do an elbow reveal and within it, surprise and traumatize many with the reality that he was an amputee now. Thinking back on how I was when I watched this video, despite it being such a severe topic, I didn't really take it as seriously because of his tone within it, but now I think back, obviously his cancer must have been incredibly severe for them to be considering amputating one of his important limbs to save him from it. But the newest video, which is currently #1 on trending and has 46 million views, is the hardest one to watch by far. In fact, the only one out of these three that's actually somewhat serious and elicits more of a devastated response. The video starts with Technoblade's dad walking onto the screen. He then sits down and talks about how Alex, Technoblade, had passed away recently from his cancer. And honestly, I couldn't even imagine what it must be like to be in Technoblade's dad's position. I don't like to discuss too much of my personal life on this channel, but a few years ago, we had a family member of mine, a very, very close family member, diagnosed with cancer. And I remember getting that news, especially because at the time I lived in Thailand, so we couldn't even go visit them, was terrifying. I remember the unbelievable amount of shock, stress, fear I felt in that moment was horrifying. I remember almost immediately, my mum just broke down, and it was a very, very terrifying moment. And we're lucky enough to say that a few years later, my family member has got rid of that cancer, or at least it's being dealt with surgery and chemotherapy, and they're now okay. But I know just in that moment of the diagnosis, it was fucking gut-wrenching to have a family member diagnosed with something. And I couldn't for a second imagine anything even comparable to the fucking living nightmare it must be to lose your own child before you at 23 to cancer. And it takes fucking balls to make a video on their channel for them after they've died to discuss it and bring that news to people. It's a fucking horrifying thought, and I have nothing but love to Techno's family. I feel awful for them. I feel awful for so many people in Techno's life who had this, like, joy, this fucking bright light sucked away from them so fucking soon. I mean, this video is genuinely really hard to watch. I would suggest watching it yourself if you haven't seen it, but, I mean, even Techno's dad starts breaking down, and he reads a note from Techno, which is incredibly upsetting.
Hello everyone, Technoblade here. If you're watching this, I am dead. So let's sit down and have one final chat. My real name is Alex. I had one of my siblings call me Dave one time in a deleted video from 2016, and it was one of the most successful pranks we've ever done. Thousands of creepy online dudes trying to get overly personal going, "Oh, hey Dave, how's it going?" Sorry for selling out so much in the past year, but thanks to everyone that bought hoodies, plushies, and channel memberships. My siblings are going to college. Well, if they want to. I don't want to put any dead brother peer pressure on them. But that's all from me. Thank you all for supporting my content over the years. If I had another 100 lives, I think I would choose to be Technoblade again every single time, as those were the happiest years of my life. I hope you guys enjoyed my content and that I made some of you laugh. And I hope you all go on to live long, prosperous, and happy lives. Because I love you guys. Technoblade out.
It doesn't feel like Techno got to say everything you wanted to, but within the note, there's still the sense of the comedy that he does, which is, it's more painful when you know that he wrote this on his literal deathbed. I know Technoblade has left a important attachment on so many, especially the younger generation of kids who are growing up with this new generation of Minecraft content, and I'm really glad that such a talented person like Techno, such a well-spirited, beloved person, was the one to be able to have that kind of attachment on these people's lives, in the same way that he touched on people like mine. I know that one of Technoblade's biggest catchphrases in the past was "Technoblade never dies," and seeing how much love he's received since news of his death has spread, I genuinely believe that. Even though he may not be here physically anymore, it's obvious he'll live on in so many people's hearts for the rest of their lives. And truly, he never will die within so many people's hearts. With that being said though, I'm gonna end this really sad video here, I guess. Hug your loved ones and tell the people you love, influencer, celebrity, whatever, how much they mean to you while they're still able to hear it, while they're still here to know and understand that love. See you tomorrow.